Roll call. Rick,
Here.
Ray,
Here.
Sarah,
Here.
Keith,
Here.
James here.
Okay, is there any conflict of interest?
Public comment on agenda
I'm
items.
sorry, both comment on agenda items. Public comment, any conflict of interest? Anyone? Right, moving on, approval of agenda.
Before we approve it, I'd like to add under unfinished business, the QPAC contract. And was there another one? What was the other one? Do you remember? Was there something else? we did?
Avicini.
And then the, how do you say their last name?
Avicini, I think.
Cavicini, special use permit, the one with the 600 square foot.
Oh.
That one, if we could put that under unfinished business. That's all I have.
Okay. Moving on to public hearing, no public hearing.
Approval of agenda.
Yeah, we need to approve the agenda first. Oh, okay, so I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda with the added bullet points and unfinished business.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
All right, no public hearing. Approval of minutes from last month.
Jane, it looks like I messed up a little bit just with QPAD. It just got kind of like that one thing got like weird. It should just say QPAD was the only bid for the zoning ordinance project. And the planning commission is italicized just because I didn't know if that was the correct noun to put for that sentence. That the planning commission was the board to proceed, or if there's somebody else that should be mentioned as that.
No, it was just us that will seek board approval. Nobody else did.
Okay, so then it would just stay the planning commission. Okay, perfect. So then just change the location of the and make that the and the planning commission not italicized.
Anyone else see anything, in the minutes from the last meeting? I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from the March 12th, 2025 meeting.
All second the motion. You know, in favor? Aye. It's accepted. Okay, moving on to reports, zoning administrator report.
Four permits were issued. ADS seamless gutter. It's putting up a garage. It's a E5079 state highway, past Breezy. Jeremy Bosk, it's a R1 for a home. Jim Sankovich got a building permit for a home in RR. It's on 14th Road, 2968 14th Escanaba. And Keith Ross, a pole building on 4322 M Road. We had one land division. Roof Cole is splitting a 40 for Caitlin Cole to build on. We had one complaint. Michael DeGroot is complaining about a short-term rental in R2, which is previously the Lacoste residence, which has been sold as of early March to Nick Vides of Wisconsin. And the complaint is basically Lacoste had told Vides, you're grandfathered in to short-term rentaling. So I don't, that's not true. He's not grandfathered in, but that is what Lacoste allegedly told Nick Vides. So Vides plans on renting it out the same way Mr. Lacoste did. And there was issues with Mr. Lacoste in the past with some of the neighbors. So Mr. DeGroot is concerned that the short-term rental will continue despite a violation in the ordinance. Do you have a question, Rick?
I just want to add some information to that. I think 3 years ago, that went through the zoning board of appeals, and it was denied.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's not supposed to do it. I don't know if he sold it because he's not supposed to, or he was kind of feeling the heat, and I don't know. But he did tell Nick Vides that you're grandfathered in, and that he would help Nick Vides manage it on VRBO or Airbnb. So
I'm not familiar with the property, was it?
okay, it is past the river a ways. I didn't write down the address. Past Ford River, Lakeside, not far past the river. So on the so south of the river, Lakeside, just maybe a mile or two.
Is it an R2?
No.
It's in R2. I do believe.
Here's the story.
I think that's a highlight,
Hang on.
Highlanding Road,
Hang on, I don't know.
Highlanding Road, private road.
Here's the story, is how it goes. Lacoste wanted to buy this property. He called here, got hold of the clerk, and the clerk said, yes, you're in R2, you can rent it. VRBO it. He can't. Charlie went out to look at it. He can't because the driveway wasn't wide enough. And it was a private road. And there's a driveway on a private road. So we said, no, you can't rent it because of those things. So then he went into the Board of Appeals, and then they denied for the same reason. There was nothing we could do. Should the clerk have told him she could do that? Absolutely not. But it wasn't, but we can't, the ordinance states you can't do it. So he ended up, I don't think it ever went to court. I don't think he ever took it to court. He just went to the Board of Appeals and they denied it as well. So, as far as we knew, that was it. I didn't know he was renting it. He shouldn't have been.
Lacoste is renting it.
He never should have rented that. He never should have. It's not VRBO.
So it's in the proper zoning for the purpose. If he has a special use permit.
He doesn't.
Private road use.
He
Would
doesn't.
not be, I know he doesn't, but would he be allowed to, is what my question would be.
Well, there's two things.
So-
No, I think he would also, you'll have to go back and look at the files, but I believe he also would have to widen the road because there was something about the width of the road wasn't big enough. It had to be so many feet.
And
it
DeGroot
wasn't.
owns the property where the road needs to be widened.
It's just a shared driveway. It's not wide enough.
Highlanding Road.
There's another one, the same, is happening the same way now.
Okay.
Another one that was denied.
But as far as that goes, I guess I know Keith, I know what you think, but I think my suggestion would be, what you guys think is to write him a letter and say he was never grandfathered, there is no grandfather clause because he was never issued a use permit to do that. to get our ordinance to do it, you know,
Well, that's how he sold it under those false pretenses, and he's gonna have some issues.
yeah, and
I mean,
that's,
that's not our concern.
Right.
But,
right,
that would be an issue that the owner, the new owner, have to take up with the.
well, yeah. Cause we had the same thing happening along the lake when people were buying properties, the real estate people were saying, oh yeah, you can buy this property in here, no, you can't, so we ended up sending a letter out to everybody saying, just so you know, you can't. Can't do it, so yeah, I guess, sorry that he told you that, but,
Yeah, it's, I mean, you gotta check with the local ordinances before you buy a home.
right.
I mean, that's,
Right. That's-
But I mean, if I'm in his shoes, I mean, it's just theoretical, but. I'm thinking, okay, I'm in R2, it's a piece of property in R2, it's okay to have a short-term rental in R2. I'd be like, okay, yeah, and then he's telling me it's grandfathered in, which I guess my question would be, why would it be grandfathered in?
that's what I'm told, that's
Yeah.
what I was told, it doesn't make sense to me.
Well, it goes, well, the special use permit goes with the property, right? It doesn't go with the owner, it goes with the property.
Again, so then he would have had to produce that
Exactly.
before
yeah,
he sold it to
right,
the new owner.
which he never got.
Okay.
Yeah, he was
but I
never
mean, so
great.
there's,
He was
yeah,
never issued, so.
it sounds to me like there's. Yeah,
That's between them,
it is. That's
Yeah.
between them.
so I would say,
But I guess my question, Ray, do you understand the rule that's prohibiting them from renting it as a short term? Is it the width of the road? Is it the driveway? What is it?
It's a private road,
Okay,
and I think there's an article in the 600 section regarding private roads. You gotta get approval from all the owners.
right.
That never happened.
So I believe Mr. Lacoste filed for a variance, from my understanding, and it was denied because it's a private road, and I guess the other houses didn't want it.
Well, the variance isn't gonna do him any good. He needs the permission for the special use permit from the landowners that are using the road, right? So I mean, if he went out and had that permission, would he not be able to rent it out? If he had the permission and the special use permit in place to do it? Would he then be allowed to?
If he had permission and the road met the standards according to the zoning ordinance.
Okay. So that would be up to the owner or whoever to make sure that that is all taken care of. The road is up to standard, the people are all signed off on it, you get the special use permit. He can move forward because it is zoned correctly. That's the point I'm getting at.
Yes,
So I mean, it is possible he could still do it. But he'd have to jump through some loops first to get it done, right? And that would be,
From my understanding, he has to widen the road.
it isn't wide enough?
no,
That's what I was told, it was, he needs a variance to widen the road, which DeGroot fought, and
Oh, so it was an issue with actual property lines then for the road to be widened.
so he needed the road widened, from my understanding, in order to apply, to be eligible to apply for a special
Okay.
use permit. And the variance got denied because he needed the wide enough road, and then he, of course, just rented it out anyway, and he
So
sold.
I guess my question being, okay, the road isn't wide enough.
Mhm.
What does it take to get it wider?
which he was given an option.
I think the problem is cash. You have to bring it up to county standards, and you know what that
Sure.
involves.
Oh, no, you wouldn't though. No, you wouldn't. I think private road. Private road
Yes.
does not need to be brought up to common standards. Maybe, is that what's in the ordinance? It needs to
Yes.
be the same, the right of way needs to be the width
That's what's in the ordinance.
and ditched correctly? Is that?
Yes, I think section 607 or something,
Yeah, we should look at.
something in there brings that up, but we had another incident, Mr. Shan up here on L.25.
Mhm.
And that road is 66 foot, and they have an agreement. And they got all the signatures from all the property owners,
Right.
and that was approved.
Yeah, and that's typical for special use, yeah.
Right.
I believe there's also something with the fire trucks couldn't get down that road too, wasn't there something with the fire trucks, it had to be a certain width to get the fire trucks down there or
Well, that's
something?
very possible. if the road
There's
doesn't
something
meet
with
the
that,
width
too.
Requirement.
That's not part of the zoning ordinance, but it should be.
Yeah, there's
Is
something,
Is it 607C, all private roads shall meet the standards of a public road as required by the Delta County Road Commission?
That's correct.
That's the issue.
So that'd be, that's the prohibitive part of the
Yeah,
is the road. I just needed to understand what was going on
and
there.
the consent of the other people,
Yeah,
the other two.
right, and that's exactly right.
Yeah. So yeah, he was not grandfathered in because there's nothing to grandfather in.
No, no,
So, if you
I
want-
think he just told him that. That's,
Yeah, so that's between them two.
right.
Yeah, so you just
Um,
make them aware.
Continuing on, violation letters, Ortis Belby has a blight and junk violation. He is at 4477 M35. He is storing 3 campers on the property and he's only allowed 1. He has been issued a letter.
That's enemies.
I'm trying. And then we have, Sarah Null with the for regarding a fence for the outdoor service area. Mike Amel, special use permit. He plans on starting in July. He's gonna be back. I think he's travels down south for the winter. He's gonna be back, so probably meet with him in May at some point to issue that. We have to reissue it. And it's from my understanding, he already paid for it. The township wasn't gonna make him repay, was not going to make him repay for a special use permit, but just simply write a new one, from my understanding.
That's the one where he moved the building.
So he had to move the yep.
Just wanted a copy of where the new one was.
Yep, so he had to move the building because he originally started construction where it was wetlands and Eagle got a hold of him and said, you gotta move it, and should be good to go now. He did move it. So,
Plus it's a reissue. Charge.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
because he moved it, we
Yeah,
just want to see where he moved it.
Yeah. so as far as the fence goes, I'm not sure if there's any special parameters, considering that it's a special use permit for the brewery, but the plan is to have a fence where patrons can, you know, have a couple beers outside or have a bite to eat outside, so.
So that permit is being sought after.
That's right. Supposed to meet with him on April 4th. Okay. Which is Friday.
Moving on, we already discussed permits, so let's move down to unfinished business. Review of ordinances.
Were we taking that off of the, taking that off of the agenda until we were kind of more in the keypad process? Yeah.
We were, yeah, I put it on there, and I guess I could have put when I had a coupon contract, it's under the same thing. Now that the board did go ahead and approve us to do with the coupon contract. To go ahead, so we could take it off, and then, Brett and I talked about it, he'll go ahead and contact Ryan and we'll get that started, that we are gonna work with them on redoing the process and how it works and what we have to do.
Sure.
And there were 2 like packages or levels that we had
We
to
took the one that had the zoning or whatever.
the more comprehensive one. Oh, that's gonna be really, really nice. I'm looking forward to this process for that.
That's the one that we voted, so that was pretty much under that, so I'll take the review of ordinances off. What do you want me to put, anything, just keep that, or? Ordinance keep that, or do you want to leave anything on, or?
I
Right.
mean, when,
Yes, I think we talked earlier about, the special use permit. And I think we talked also with Ryan about possibly coming up with civil infractions and some of the other issues. And my feeling is that civil infraction process should be taken care of first.
Good. I would give that to Sarah, because did you tell Sarah that? Because Sarah's keeping that list going of what we want to make sure we get included.
But I guess I feel it's important enough that we should maybe press the board to make that the #1 priority. Because and we just talked about some of those issues. And the quicker we get that started, I think the quicker we're gonna get things done or not get things done. There's really no sense in going through with the zoning ordinance if we're not gonna enforce it.
So I think it might not be bad to have Ryan come back out here again, and now that we've hired him or gone to he could help us with those kinds of things. So when you tell him, do you wanna set up a time if he can come to the next meeting or?
I
if
can
he's
do that.
available, or is that okay with everybody?
Yes, is he gonna start, I think part of that package is that he was going to start being at every meeting, or is it?
That's something you can ask him.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I don't, something. So I will put him on, let me know, and I'll put it in the agenda. Okay.
Let's move on to master plan resolution.
Yeah, Ray had mentioned he wanted to have a resolution in front of the master plan, and I sent it to you guys to look at. If this is something you look, is this what you were talking about? I do have to find the date that we sent it to the board and the board approved it. I have to put that in there. And then now, I guess the question I have is, do we accept this as a resolution or does the board accept this as a resolution?
I
Is it,
think the board accepts it and they have to sign it.
the board does?
I
Okay.
think, I'm not sure, I'd have to read the particular paragraph in Public Act 33 that refers to that, but there is a process. And I think it also, we check the fast master plan, you'll see it in there also. And while we're talking about that master plan, I think we talked prior about how pages are going to be laid out. And I don't know if that's an issue with the graph or is that something that you can handle. If you look on the website, the way it comes up, it's very odd to me.
Okay.
And what part is he talking about? Your, so,
The
Master plan
pages,
itself,
Master plan itself,
coming up landscape or?
yes.
oh, okay.
That is-
Yeah, we had that discussion before. Yeah, I think you're right about that, I agree with that.
Yeah,
The layout of it is.
there's so many pages there, and I think that signature by the board members is supposed to be on the first page, so I don't know how a graph can handle that.
well, it wouldn't be graph, it would be civic clarity, I think. They're the ones that put it on there. Our website designer's the one that puts it on there. I don't think graph put it on the webpage.
Okay, whoever does it, I guess if we could have that corrected, so it can come up for the public to see.
Sure.
Okay. So what about this resolution? Does this sound like a document that you want to go in front of there? So I can just, once I find out the date that the board approved it, or I use the date at the next meeting, we can go ahead and this will be done then?
How does the rest of the board members feel? I guess I feel that it should be reviewed along by us.
That's what you're doing. That's why I sent it to you, but that's what we're doing now.
Right, but as the rest of the board members looked at the public act and it refers to this or not?
Yes,
Yeah, I mean, right, but in the previous one, there is a document almost identical to this.
Okay,
I think you can just add date,
Just once it gets
some
out.
information,
Okay,
the rest of them.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
okay. So do you want to do you need a motion for that then, to send the resolution to the board? Or,
I, sure, I think. We can do that.
doesn't matter, I don't do it.
Nope.
It looks like in 2010, they had it signed by the township clerk and the township supervisor.
Okay,
We want to
so,
repeat that process.
okay, so we'll send this to the board with the correct date that we send it. And have them, and then we'll have it put in the master plan. So I make a motion that we send to the board the master plan resolution document to sign and include in the master plan.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to. Master plan or planning commission bylaws.
You know, they had requested that we look at the planning commission bylaws, so I said, you guys have a copy and I printed one out for you. Is there something you wanted to look at, Ray, or is there something
I
specific?
just wondered if it couldn't be condensed and got more up to date. Should be. Should it be, or is everybody happy with it?
I have breezed over this in the past, but I mean, I'd have to study it. Part of it, because it's sitting up.
I mean, Ray, if you wanna look at it, come up with an updated version and present it to us, so you think it needs to be. If you wanna do that, then we can.
What are you thinking? I mean, a lot of work. That's.
Brother, under membership, liaisons, I think there's an awful lot in there that is not necessary. But what I've seen on this is kind of just a sample was put out by MSU about 20 years ago. And which I don't feel is, you know, David Leonard, I don't feel fits our need to. I just, you know, I come up with what I think, but I like to have. The rest,
Maybe they gotta get it first.
no, they don't. It's kind of individual, unless you, like some other townships. Like, we don't have number one or the planning department staff. You know. So,
I would be fine with, you know, we start the process today, we take the next month to kind of come up with some ideas and then talk about the next month.
So it's updated.
I don't think we're done getting, just, review as is, yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't feel it's important enough, but.
I mean, realistically. It covers all the bases, it does probably go a little far. I don't know.
I guess you gotta look at it too, it's not just looking for the present, it's looking for the future too. You know,
Right.
don't just look for today, you gotta look 10 years down the road too, that's gotta go.
There's zoning responsibilities from the zoning administrator, I just listed in here, along with the zoning ordinance, which we're going to be looking at, so maybe, you know, we should coordinate his responsibilities. So they're all the same.
Certainly, yes, and that's for meeting, if this falls within the scope of what you're going to do the process about.
Sure.
we really think that possibly Ryan should attend the board meeting.
But what?
Ryan should attend a board meeting and discuss the particulars like this issue with civil infraction. Some of the other things we want done, make sure that's part of the contract or talk to us and then.
I think he needs to talk to us so he gets an understanding of what we're looking for before he talks to the board. So then we tell them that we're planning on doing it, that's my opinion, is that he talks to the board before he goes to the board.
Sure, with some word, this thing could be. That's now. Is it necessary?
Right now, yeah.
Assumption. Yeah.
Get through the ordinance first.
Next one.
No, we don't want to put too much on the plate.
Get to the ordinance.
Sure, this was thought of and mentioned,
Yeah.
we didn't have much going.
Right.
And all of a sudden we got our hands full. Times have changed.
That's the. Yeah, I think we table this and we move on. David, we move on.
Here, move on to microbrewery review.
Yeah, Ray, you had requested something about the review.
Like, I think, during the public hearing we had a year ago, it was supposed to be brought up a couple months ago and nothing's happened.
Okay, I've got a question on that. Now, we went through and I saw that we did do the 604 on them and we issued them the special use permit, but where is that special use permit? Would that be, that's not the 604, that would have been. Is that
The special use permit was,
the 604 that we did, or because didn't you have to sign something for that? Don't you sign the special use?
Yeah, because it was granted, that's granted.
the 604 is the process to get it granted.
Right, so where is the special use permit? Do we keep those here?
Yeah, you should have.
I have a bunch of documents regarding that brewery, including this one. The application. But I don't have an approved special permit on this drive. And I can show you, I'd be more than happy to show you what I have.
So would that have been something we would have done and given them to file?
But also Sarah contacted me and says she doesn't have one either. And she asked me to look for it, and I did. Like I said, I have about 12 documents. And it's everything, but it's not an approved special use permit. I have the application,
It should have been approved. It was approved.
It was approved, because I have the minutes for that.
So-
unless
we're-
it's
we're-
in one of the file drawers or something. It
That's
could be
what-
filed away.
They should have a copy.
They don't have a copy. So we have to find that original. We have to find it.
They should be given copies when they leave, before they leave here. Last week.
I agree, but I agree, yeah, I mean, you would have signed it and given a lock out the door, so I don't know. Who issues those? So the administrator issued the special use permit, give it to you to sign.
Right, and he takes it back,
Yeah,
does whatever he does.
that's the point we're at now. That's the
He does whatever he
question.
does.
What does he do with it? So we gotta,
Charlie, I would think would know.
we'll talk to Charlie, we'll talk to Deanne, I think she files it, we file all our stuff.
It's probably filed somewhere else.
You say you have a copy of the minutes?
Yes, I did, that was last year, right?
Right, I've got a copy of the,
Of the minutes, and that was what, March of last year, February?
says Fort River Township Planning Commission special meeting agenda. January 17, 2024.
Okay,
But it's also got the public hearing. And it's done at the same time, we did the.
the renewals,
on
yes.
the short-term rentals,
And that was when,
January,
that was all in January.
January 17th. They're not on the website.
Oh, they're not?
I,
Can I get-
I couldn't find them.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that, but I did see some about special minutes on here.
There's some in February, a couple meetings in February. If anybody wants a copy of the minutes, I got it.
I do want a copy of that, Ray, before you leave, I can make one,
Back to public comments and 604 that we went through and
You're right, it's just the town board meetings for January on the site. No planning commission.
well, if you look on the special board minutes on from February 21st. The announcement before the planning commission on January 17th, the solution to Sarah, discussion took place. It's not allowed to taste them, to either support or not support. That was board minutes, that's our planning commission. Yeah, if I can get a copy of that, then we'll look for the actual document. Yeah, because it was that there where we put the restraint or the ties, you know.
So what's the question here? I guess are we? The review of the microbrewery special use permit is why this is on here. And we can't find the permits. That was initially given. So to meet the standards of the special use permits, that would have been Charlie. That would have done that, right?
see that's highlighted there.
We reviewed when you got you. So we've gone past the 1 year review, not by much.
I have a document stating the parameters of what it was supposed to be.
So that's what needs to happen. If
I have that in my. A hard copy of it.
So just to make sure that they're meeting the
Gotcha.
parameters of the.
Yeah, but it had times they could be open and whatnot
Yeah,
and
right.
stuff like that.
Right,
So
But the footprint has changed on that,
the footprint for what,
for the building and the property.
how could it change? It's the same building.
It's the same building, but they built a ramp.
Was it for 88, the ramp? What was it for?
I don't know. That's
Assumed for 88. It's probably 88, which is, that's perfectly fine. I mean, that's.
For wheelchairs?
Yeah.
And also, I think there's been a land division there. Put this septic system in.
I'm not aware of a land division.
Why would they do a land division for a septic system? That would be my question. I don't know. Do you know why that?
Yeah, because the existing one didn't meet the standards.
Okay, so they,
Health department.
so what would they do? Why would they divide the land?
They purchased some land adjacent.
Oh, in person.
Yes, I think there's some more parking there. You drive past that, Keith. Did you notice anything?
Just noticed that they got that ramp up, but it looks like. Wheelchair access, so.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yes.
well, do they have to, somebody puts a wheelchair up, they don't have to come to us and get a permit for that, you know, it's.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that doesn't,
So that's a county thing.
right. Mhm.
If they're not meeting the ADA requirement, then they decided.
After that.
Did you want a copy of this then, or?
I would like a copy of it.
Yeah, probably for Jane, but I don't need a copy of it.
Okay, yeah.
But the review portion of that, it
I'll
falls
take a
on
copy of what you have.
the zoning administrator to go and make sure that they are following all the rules of the special use plan.
Any kind of locate action.
Yeah, so these are rules.
Yeah, it wasn't rude.
It was approved.
Yes, it was approved,
It was
yes.
approved, it was approved.
Okay,
I don't see anything from the board approving it though, the township board.
They don't have to.
Okay. I just didn't see that long, blurb of information from their meetings, meeting minutes on Tuesday or on February or whatever it was, saying, you know, we need more information.
That was for, that wasn't for the permit, that was for signing a liquor license or something, I believe. If
That
I
makes more
remember
sense.
right, it was some kind of signing, some kind of a license for them.
I see.
I think that's what that was, Sarah. I don't think it was a special use.
So yeah, as far as the review goes, I guess first off, find the permit.
Yeah.
And then secondly, make sure that they're, you know, following the standards that were given.
all right.
I also think with the fence request now, that if there was a land division, that should be part of that fence request, so that that whole plot can be brought up to date according to what's there now.
I'm not aware of the any property expansions or septic, which if they've done that, has gone through the health department, which is none of our concern. To meet the requirement there, so.
When you say land division, Ray, do you mean they purchased the land from somebody else, like, or that person they purchased had to divide their land?
Right.
Well, wouldn't that person have had to come to us and get a land division?
Well,
And did you see one come across?
I never seen one come across.
I would think so, however, if they went through a surveyor, and I don't know. You know, they may very well not have known that they needed to do that. But I'm sure if there was a division there, a surveyor was used to divide it, and the markers are then put in. If that's the case, unless they bought an entire parcel, which I don't know, you know, maybe they did, maybe the parcel was already one whole piece that they purchased. That could be, in which case it wasn't a land division, it was a property purchase, right? So,
So if it was a land division, I would need them to get it filed with the township.
yeah, so we don't know the case, I guess that's something you probably wanna dig into a little bit and find out.
And you said that was for them to meet their septic needs?
Yes,
I see, so then that would be something you would need to know, because part of, if I remember correctly, part of what was needed was, you know, documentation that their septic was up to snuff.
Yeah, I don't recall if that was something that we had put in there for, is that in your paperwork at all, the septic system?
I'd have to look,
Okay.
could be.
Okay,
I do have a number of papers from them.
sure.
that's something required, I think, by us, from the state.
Right,
A copy.
I think a couple meetings ago, we talked about the same issue with site plans.
yeah, I think what we were talking about there was is just giving people a short list of the things they need to have before they come to us.
Right.
So to make sure that they don't go through their some needed, you know, and find out that they can't do what they wanna do, right?
Right, now I've got a form for site plans, a one pager that I think we all should look at and consider.
Sure,
And
yep,
I can give you a copy tonight if you want it.
yeah, that'd be great, I'd like to see it,
I'm a firm believer in forms.
I can tell.
My memory's not that great, and
Yeah.
I think it helps the property owner.
Sure, absolutely.
I can see here on the, those meetings.
Steve said there should be a copy of the brewery permit in the property tax file.
There you go.
I just see that in the meeting minutes, we specifically mentioned that, the restrictions to be reviewed in 1 year. One of those is a copy of the passing septic inspection.
Okay.
Okay, so. Are we, I think we're good on that.
Good to go on that, I think.
Okay,
Well, are we gonna we'll get a copy of it? Are you still gonna want them to come and to the next meeting and go over everything? When everything's up to par?
well,
Or we just
I
gonna
think
look
he
at it?
needs to make a visit.
Oh, okay,
First find the permit,
okay,
make a visit with them, make sure that they are staying up with
Okay.
all of the provisions, and then. I don't see a need, do you see a need to have them come in there?
No,
there should be no need to, as long as they're adhering to the permit, I mean.
that's fine with me.
Sounds
I'm
good to
just
me.
double checking so we know.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
that's fine.
Trouble.
Yeah, as long as we're doing. Okay,
Move on to the 600 foot home. Or trailer, or whatever it is.
oh, those, yeah, I don't know where that, you, go ahead, you got a call from her? You got,
From Cavacignoni.
yeah,
So from my understanding, she wants to do a short-term rental. She did apply for a special use. I spoke with her on the phone. She said she applied for a special use permit. It was cashed, the money was cashed, check was cashed. But she never received, an actual permit. There's also that the dwelling isn't 600 square feet. But she's talking about a loft and basically trying to get it qualified to 600 feet. So there's been some confusion, for her, kind of like what she can and can't do. She says she wasn't issued a permit, so I guess that's step one.
I think initially she was.
No, I thought we denied it specifically. That we said, oh, well, we can't do anything, it's denied
Well, I
because,
think he falsely, to start with, accepted it, I believe, Charlie did, and then when we reviewed it, we found out that it wasn't meeting the requirement, I think is what happened.
Right.
I don't think, they probably weren't,
right,
I don't think they were issued the permit after, we went through the review of it, so.
and I know Charlie was gonna talk to them.
Yeah, he was supposed to talk to them about some different ways they could bring it up to the,
Right,
to the standard that it needed to meet. I think one of them was to close in the screen porch.
Right.
I think the lock didn't meet the requirement because there was a headroom issue. So I don't know if there's something to do with that. But I thought he had already explained to them a few things that they could have done
yeah,
to change their.
Charlie never called and talked to them.
No,
I think one was change the ordinance, or try to change the ordinance,
yeah,
it's one of our options.
And I mean, I think that was something we wanted to talk about anyway, because the advent of these tiny homes is, I mean, it's common. Like,
Right.
they're popping up everywhere. And I mean, they're not all gonna meet this 600 square.
is that just because building costs are so high, do you think?
Say that again?
Is that because building costs are so high, you
Well, I
think?
don't think that's it. I think it's kind of a fad thing right now, that a lot of people are just moving to these little tiny homes. I see it as a fad. I think it's just something that's. People have fallen in love with these little tiny homes, right? You can trailer them, set them up, put them places. I mean, they're built like a house, but you can move them, they're mobile.
Yeah,
And you can set them up. Pretty much anywhere, right? So, I don't know why they're becoming so popular, but they are, and I don't know that anybody wanna live in one of them things for. But
people do, it is,
Yeah.
it is very popular, it plays into that whole, homesteading mindset where
Yeah.
it's like, how can I keep my costs low? People of my generation feel that they cannot afford traditional housing, so it's just being able to be, our character here is a rural independence, self-sufficiency, and that a lot of times tiny homes are tied into that because it's that idea of,
Sure.
oh, I can buy a plot of land, put a home on it without having to deal with stick building and start living my dream.
and that's what she bought from. my
it is,
understanding.
yeah, it's a, I believe it was trailered in there and set up in place. As a permanent building, right?
So I mean, as it stands now, you'd have to make an addition essentially to,
Yeah, so the ordinance would have to
Satisfy the
change to
ordinance.
accept these, I mean, and right now, the way it's written, they don't, for the less than 600, right? Is it
600, except in R1, has to be, according to the ordinance, it's 750 for R1, all other districts, 600.
600. So,
Yeah,
So I would talk, I guess my suggestion would be is to talk to Charlie, and go over your options and then call her back and say, these are your options.
yeah,
Either enclose the porch to make it 600
I
square
thought
feet.
they were already given those options, so I thought
Charlie
they
never
already.
did. Yeah, Charlie never did call him back. He was supposed to call him and tell him
Okay.
this. So now she's called, wants to
Okay.
know.
yeah, I spoke with her to try to
She
get her
did
side of it,
check.
to get kind of caught up to speed, but yeah, she was very polite and respectful, she was just wondering, well, you guys cashed my check, so
Yeah.
do I get the permit?
Yeah.
And so I understand where she's coming from on that. But
would
so
think-
basically, I mean, she needs to satisfy the 600 square feet.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right
And
now,
then-
that's the way it is.
So
Yes, another thing that's required on that is, do it. Door exterior doors.
Yeah,
To the rear and the side, or the side,
one to the rear and the side.
or side.
Well, I mean, I'm sure it has a door already. What do
I
you
think
think?
it has a door, but it needs a
It's
second.
got one door.
It needs another means of, yeah. And I thought there was, wasn't a certain size window meet that requirement for exit as well?
Into that loft, and by looking at it, it possibly meets that requirement.
Yeah,
Well, why would you, I mean, the trailer doesn't have an exit door, like a camping trailer, that doesn't have two
Most of
doors.
them do. That I've seen, been in.
I haven't seen one for a while, but they never used to.
door, but I think it needs to be a window size that you can escape through.
Oh, so if they have a back window,
But it needs to
Page
be.
12,
I think you did.
page 12 of our zoning ordinance.
Okay.
I think you have a back window.
yeah,
The back picture. I don't think that's.
there's the thing that up, Brett, going back, did you send a letter out to the people that has the 3 trailers? Did you send the letters to them?
He did.
Oh, Steve sent a letter to, okay.
So is it, are you talking about under single family dwelling
Yes,
rate?
Is it A, B, C, or D, or E?
E. 41E.
No less than 2 exterior doors, with the second one being either in the rear or the side of the dwelling.
So again, this is something that I believe, you know, with with starting a new ordinance through QPAD needs to be looked at for tiny homes, because honestly, putting 2 doors in a tiny home really, I don't think makes much sense.
You could word it as an exit.
Maybe the building inspector could help us too on this.
And yeah, I'd be interested to see what building inspector would have to say.
Oh,
Keep that was for your ordinance.
yeah, I heard from this last conversation, we tiny home zoning.
There
I
you go,
think they have some experience with the tiny home
keep that does.
issue, yeah, because they're running into it as well.
Yeah, sure.
So,
Along that same line, the county parks have buildings now. Has any of us been in those? No,
The ones out at Fuller,
at Fuller or at Pioneer,
I drove it by the ones at Fuller.
you know. Maybe those people could help us,
yeah, it's possible.
give us some insight on these small homes.
Well, they're not really homes out there at Fuller. I think it's just a big room with a bunch of, with beds in it. They're not,
Yeah, those are cabins, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think there's even like a kitchen, electricity, or,
I don't know if they have cooking facilities inside or.
I don't think so, no. They're just kind of like big old open spaces that you can sleep in, from what I understand. I didn't go in one, but I don't think there's,
I think for the purpose of, this particular special use permit, we need to just cover what we know, and that's the 600 square feet at this point. As far as the door goes, that's a kind of a gray area right now, because this really isn't specific to that type of.
yeah.
The only thing Mike said is a recreation structure in our zoning ordinance, the way I see it.
Because we looked at that too, putting it down as a trailer and having it there for 90 days. That was another option they had.
Yeah.
Because you could park a trailer for 90
Yeah.
days. So we looked at that as well. So that was another option we had. Which if they plan on renting it out, you're not gonna get much more than 90 days of it.
No. So I think. Given the fact that there's a lot of gray areas here, I think at this point. The 600 square foot,
It's an issue.
in my opinion, is,
I agree with that.
what it would take to get them their permit. And I think that's kind of how it's explained.
I'm just gonna throw this out here because I was just reading. Because, because assuming, you know, the tax check. We've kind of already dug ourselves in a hole with this, I wonder if we could make it. This is section 407, temporary uses and structures, a temporary structure which is less than the minimum building size or not conforming mobile home. May be authorized by the zoning administrator for temporary residence. And it says that shall be limited to 12 months. So we can give her a temporary thing while we're figuring out the zoning and then revisit it. That's something to consider. If you want to look that.
Yeah, but I think their purpose there isn't for themselves, it's their rent.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think that falls on a different category.
Okay.
If they were gonna live there, yes, that would be,
Yeah.
I get that totally, but yeah, I don't think it's gonna be used as a residence.
Right.
I don't.
Cause they're trying to.
Temporary residence, yeah, I guess because,
Short-term rent.
Yeah.
So.
That's probably most like if you're building a house.
right,
Or living in
Yeah.
a small
Yep,
structure
yeah.
to get the house, it's like, I'm
Right.
sure.
Yep.
Number 3 covers that. 407.
Okay, so we'll get in contact with them and Brett,
Yeah,
okay.
All right, anybody else have any other unfinished business? Let's move on to new business.
No, you got one more there. Do we talk about the QPED contract?
Yeah, I kind of did it with
Okay, all right.
the review of ordinance, we kind of combined.
one more thing, so I would just write a new special use permit, basically, just fill out a new one. For Cappuccino.
Yeah, as long as they meet the
As long
Yeah,
as
requirements.
as
they-
long as they meet the
Yeah,
requirement.
we don't have to, we don't charge it because she's
Yeah.
outside.
Yeah,
Just a new permit, same as the Keith Amel, new
Yeah.
permit, no charge,
And make sure that they are conforming.
for sure,
Yeah,
Perfect.
alrighty.
All right, moving on to new business. Suggestions for future projects.
I think we should, with everything else on our plates right now, I think we should table this and come back when, like if somebody, if we have a member of the public who wants to come and, you know, give an idea, let's be really open to it. I don't think we should be coming as ourselves, be like, all right, let's add more to our plate right now.
There's been some suggestion, for a new town hall fire department building, Steve has expressed some interest and as well as Dennis was in the last meeting,
Yeah.
expressing interest in that. I would love to see that happen, and coming from the firm that I own, I could potentially get some budget numbers and some design ideas for the township. I actually told Steve I would do that, so at some point I will try to get something like that in place to present, to the board or whoever the powers that be would have to look at that, so. That was the biggest thing I think that's been on the minds of at least some of the people within the township. And then as you can see, this building is really outdated. So, and our firm has done some township combination fire department, town hall type structure. Last one we did was for St. Agnes, the actual city of St. Agnes, they put in a really nice fire department with their hall, their city hall and everything in there. So it could be a scaled down version of that or something, and you know, that would fit this particular demographic, so.
Be a shame to lose this building altogether, it's just so gorgeous.
Well, I'm not so sure you'd have to lose it, it depends on what they have here for real estate, I don't know that, you could potentially put it somewhere else on the property, the new structure.
Interesting. What's on, what I wanna say is on our capital improvement plan?
It's been mentioned, I don't know that it's on mentioned.
Mhm.
But I think that's what they're talking about for future, they'd like to see something like that happen. Which I would be on board with, you know, not only if you had a newer updated facility, you could also facilitate, receptions and meetings and, you know, other types of things that you could generate some revenue from. Which is a lot of the other townships and, city halls do.
I know it's been talked about.
Yeah, it's been.
I'm sure if we could put, if it would be, if it could be closer to the river, that would be quite a selling point for events and stuff like that.
Yeah, so sure they have property.
Yeah, we're-
That's a good one for that, but-
You're lucky to get the money to get a building. Bigger property.
Oh, there you go.
All right, moving on, short-term rental rentals.
In the lawyer's hands, right?
Yeah. Got my hands on it.
Uh-huh.
You got anything on that? Okay, move on in, special use permit applications.
Just the Mike Amel one as of now.
Today. Zoning board applications. Communications.
I have one question real quick. Should we put special permit applications up like where the permits are?
Probably.
Because they're all kind of included in it. And that's what-
Kind of like just under the zoning administrator report, isn't it?
Yeah, just put it under there, and then we'll just, what about CBA applications? But those are leave that separate,
There you go.
leave it separate,
There you go.
okay. All right, okay, go ahead.
All right, no communications, public comment on non-agenda items.
I have a comment.
Go ahead. State your name.
Brenda McAdam. I started looking into purchasing a property in this area. And, I talked to a person who's a neighbor there. And she said, that it's zoned residential. And there's a guy currently residing there that has chickens. And he shouldn't have them. But she won't do anything about it because she doesn't want to cause any issues. So it's that's one issue right there, is that the property's not zoned for it, it's going on and nothing's being done. Then I said, well, this property is over 50 acres and you're telling me you can't have a single chicken on it? So I started looking into our zoning. And now I can see why, because there's 2 residentials and it jumps all the way to agriculture. And of course, when you have a big property like that, you have all these little residences around it. They don't want a pig farm or a dairy farm next to them. But I don't understand why there's not a middle of the road. I grew up on a hobby farm, or now they call them homesteads. And you're limited by your acreage. You have to have a certain amount of acreage to begin with to have a hobby farm. Then you are limited in number of animals according to how much acreage you have. Like, all large animals need an acre per animal. And they're herd animals, so they shouldn't be by themselves. So I would like recommend a minimum 4 acres for that, just because you could have 2 herd animals together and that's it. But I noticed that, the one I grew up on, they tried to just do it minimally controlled. And they just said, no split-toed animals. And we said, why? And they said, because of the smell. Well, my dad was like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard, because if he had a turkey farm, it would smell way worse than any split-toed animal. So you don't wanna just leave it open-ended like that either. You wanna have, you know, that you can have a certain number of large animals, a certain number of medium farm animals for this acreage. And I think I saw some stuff on the Michigan site for a sample of zoning. And one of the good things it brought up was, the handling of manure. That the common thing that people tend to do is put it to the edge of their property, which then all the neighbors have to deal with. So you want some setback of where that is contained, so the neighbors aren't the ones getting it. So that's just some options. I think with the popularity of homesteading and how horrible our food supply is, that trying to grow your own food, be it animals and a garden, is a much healthier option. And if we had, you know, I'm sure we have other properties this size, if we could do these small little things, then we could have a little farmer's market here with all local foods that are healthy. And we'd be all helping each other out. So I feel like there's that huge gap. Cause yeah, I wouldn't want to live next to a pig farm either. But a little hobby farm, that we know. And, you know, like the thing with everybody wanting chickens. There's, like she told me, well, Escanaba turned it down because the state of Michigan said cage free. Okay, then people don't understand what cage free is. In commercial chicken farming, cage is a square foot cage with 2 to 3 chickens in it. And they're all stacked next to each other. Well, the big problem with that, besides it being inhumane, is that if a chicken gets sick, the others can't get away from it. And what would normally happen if they're in a cage-free environment, which is contained in a building they can't get out of, or in a structure of some sort they cannot get out of, is once a chicken got sick, they would kill it and then leave it. They would not be in the presence of that chicken. They may have the chance then to make the antibodies for that and not die themselves. And another really cool thing about chickens is if they run into something like, say they eat ticks or Lyme disease, they actually put the antidote to that in their eggs. The colleges have proved that. I think it was Ohio State that proved that. So there's a way to have a healthy in between. But I wouldn't just throw out there, oh, it's a hobby farm and just don't do this one thing. You're gonna want to think about the health of the animals as well as not disturbing your neighbors. Like, I realize on a big farm, it's necessary to have roosters to protect your chickens. But if you have to have them contained properly, you don't have to have a rooster. And that's usually the issue with people having chickens, is the neighbors don't want to have to hear that rooster. And that's what this neighbor said. She's pissed that this guy has roosters and she can't leave her windows open at night. And like, he doesn't need roosters. Well, you know, unless you're breeding chicks, you don't need roosters. Anyways, if you have any questions about what a hobby farm is or anything for me, I'd be glad to answer. But I think that would be a real blessing to have that option in this area.
And I'm not sure this, thank you so much for the comment. Part of what we are embarking on now is a project with a local company called CAD, and we are actually on just embarking on redoing our entire zoning ordinance. And so this will absolutely be something that we will be reviewing. And I would love to encourage for you and anybody who has these types of opinions. I'm sure we will be doing public hearings and workshops in the future, and we very much want to hear all of these opinions. And for the individuals who will be helping us draft these new ordinances to be there and here as well.
So this sounds like it's gonna be weird.
I'm hoping it's not. We're really hoping not.
I don't think he said yours.
Well, the parcel she's referring to is a 50-acre parcel, and I think her frustration is you can't have chickens on a 50-acre parcel, which it's like, it is 50 acres. That's something we can discuss with you, Pat, right? I mean,
That needs to definitely.
if you have 50 acres.
And he currently has 4 ducks and 2 roosters.
And look, like, there's common sense solutions, like, you should not probably have roosters if you have. My in-laws are farmers, I mean, they have, you can hear those roosters on the winds, right, 100-mile away, as I'm sure you guys know. That's no fun for neighbors, but penned up chickens, I mean, but. We'll see what happens with the ordinance, I guess, but.
Yeah, it definitely, it's the whole dynamic is changing.
Right,
These types of farms, these small farms and hobby farms that people are becoming more and more popular, so it
Right.
definitely needs to be considered.
right,
And I spoke to the commission about this, but something I would highly recommend looking into as an individual is the right to farm. There is actually a program that they have for free where they were walking through. Basically, there are certain there's a program and they'll go over the parts with you, they'll talk about what makes sense and, specifically with in mind. It's been a little bit since I looked into it, but you are protected in some ways as long as you follow certain guidelines that are with, and you have proof and you work with the Right to Farm Act, you, have options. Even if it's zoned against it, that is my understanding. But I would encourage you to look at it, call the Right to Farm, they have a program. They should be able to provide more information, more options for you.
I mean, you still can't violate the ordinance. You know,
Oh, so that's something that we should bring up. I do have a, contact that would be happy to organize, to come out with the Right to Farm Act to talk about it. I cannot speak with enough confidence at this time, but I will be happy to, organize that, and see perhaps, because the April meeting, I would guess, Jane, the process for that would be, I would need to, I wouldn't be able to organize it for the May meeting at this point, correct? For her to come out and do that, or,
If you want to put something on the agenda, you have up until a week before
Yeah.
the meeting to do that. If you want something on the agenda, just let me know.
then I will tentatively do that for, an April meeting, or May meeting. And email you for her to come, and not her to come, but to Zoom and talk to us about it.
So you want that on the agenda?
I will reach out to you, I don't have it, once I have confirmation from her that, she's available,
So I'm not putting nothing on the agenda right now.
not yet.
Okay. Okay.
I would exercise caution about anything, like violating ordinance. Probably not a good idea until this is already developed.
So the ordinance goes, I agree.
Any other board comment?
I have copies, as I mentioned before, on a one pager for sites. I'd like to hand out at this time. Yep. This is part of, Grand Traverse County. They don't allow short-term rentals. And even had one for you.
Wow, thank you.
what county is this?
That's
Grand
Grand Traverse.
Grand Traverse. Right. I think it, some of those items, the majority, I think, would get our use. It's kind of a simple one pager. There's things on here I think we can eliminate. Maybe a few things we can add. Just for your review and possible some feedback next meeting or something. It places a lot of the responsibility on the person requesting the permit. Yeah, the way I see it, it looks like it fits the special uses along with normal permitted uses. That's all I have. Thank you.
Sure. All right, anybody else got anything?
I just want to remind everybody that starting a week from Thursday on April 10th is our 6-week citizen planner program at the Escanaba Township Hall. Goes April 10th to May 15th, every Thursday from 6 to 9.
Every Thursday, 6 to 9.
Yep. At the Escanaba Township Hall. And we're all signed up to be there.
Anything else?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second.
You all in favor?
Aye.